All right, Susan Sands, and she's a PhD. And I read up on you, and you have so many accolades and so much going on that I picked these few, but you're a formal journalist that is now a clinical psychologist in Berkeley, California.
That's right.
And you have written, you've done trailblazing work, I mean, it's like you've really done so many things. And what I read that I thought was so interesting, it said you weave together the psychology and neuroscience, which is so fabulous. But the thing that I was so interested in too, Susan, was the book. First of all, welcome to the show. Welcome. And our little martini chat.
Okay.
You wrote this book, Susan, The Inside Story, The Surprising Pleasures of Living in an Aging Body. Now, that is everything that Aging But Dangerous is all about. And I have been working with women for, 15 years that, 50 and over. And I am so anxious to hear what you have to say about a lot of things. But this book is incredible. Tell us a little bit about it and how you can I ask you how old you are? Is that
I'm 76 in 2 weeks.
How old?
76.
Oh, 76. Okay. And I'm almost 83. And we are aging very well. And I love this whole aging. It's so important for us to talk about this whole aging subject. So tell us a little bit about the book. Can you? I mean, it's such an interesting title and it's so important. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Sure. First, let me say that I'm very honored to be on the show, and I'm delighted to be here. And I think we're birds of the same feather because we want to enjoy our aging.
Yes, we do.
I am enjoying it.
Yes.
In fact, I'm something of a zombie right now because I just got back from a tropical island off of Nicaragua yesterday.
Oh my gosh, Susan, that's incredible. Well, you look really fabulous for having that's a long trip.
I think, probably helps to have had a little sun too.
Yeah.
So looking better than I was. But the book, as I was going through my 60s, I was surrounded by more and more friends, colleagues, patients who were feeling freaked out about getting older, and they were feeling terrible about, the sags and the wrinkles and
all the physical stuff.
Yeah, and our society, our ageist society, is very, very hard on older women. I mean, it's not easy to get older in this youth-obsessed culture. Constantly being bombarded by, pictures of beautiful, young, sexy women. And the society, it's focused on the young. And it can make us feel like we're not valued. It can make us feel like we just don't have it anymore. And it can make us too focused on our appearance. And so I thought to myself, now, what can I do about this? What am I trying to do about it?
Right.
And I realized that one thing that I was trying to do was to feel myself grounded in my body, feeling myself from the inside out more. And I really believe that if we can feel ourselves, our inner body sensations, if we can kind of dwell in our bodies, feel rooted there, we will be much less worried about how we look.
And that is when I heard you, I listened to a lot of your interviews and things, and it's exactly what I talk about too, is the feelings. I think that is so important. in how you feel. I mean, I used to own a clothing store back, 50 years ago when I was in my 30s. And if somebody would say to me, how does this look on me, Jean? I would just say, how do you feel? And
Yeah.
they would say, well, I really feel good at it. And I say, then it's perfect. I really go by those feelings. And it's really funny because when they show pictures, and maybe I'm just unusual or I don't know, but when they show pictures and we see pictures of all those young women and perfect bodies. I mean, I never looked like that. I didn't look like that when I was 20. I mean, I was like, I don't know. I think it's so overdone. But when you started talking about the feelings, that's when it's like, I think that is so important, Susan, is how women feel
Mhm.
about themselves, not how they look. Because
Exactly.
just a firm believer. It's not just clothes, or it's not just physical stuff. But if you feel good about yourself, then you're going to be so happy.
Mhm. And it's also, I think, a good way to deal with some of the other feelings that come up as we get older. We can feel the losses, we can feel the sadness, we can feel the fear of what's
Mhm,
been to us.
mhm.
Well, and if we can then get away from those worried thoughts and we can just sink down in our bodies and
Mhm,
how good it feels
mhm.
in our bodies, then it's also
Yes.
a good way. It's also a good way of sort of doing therapy on ourselves too.
Yeah.
That's the subtitle of my book, The Surprising Pleasures of Being in an Aging Body.
I know. I know. I mean, Susan, it's so true. I mean, I was 80 years old. I had cataract surgery at 80, and I ended up with 20/20 vision. Now, I never had 20/20 vision. I always wore glasses or contacts. I'm like, are you kidding me? I mean, I'm 80 years old and I have 20/20 vision. I mean, and this woman wrote me the other day and she said, I'm just so depressed. I'm going to have cataract surgery. And I said, what are you depressed about? You're going to be able to see. I remember seeing the little age spots on my hands and thinking, oh my gosh, that's so cool. There's so many good things that happen to us, and you're only 75. So you still have, I mean, you have so much to look forward to. I have a lot to look forward to. These women have to realize that it's just not that number.
No, no. In fact, you probably know about the happiness curve.
Yes.
Well,
Talk about that. Yeah.
I mean, there were studies done all over the world, but there's a particular study from the University of Chicago that charts happiness of people at different ages, and they came up with what's called the U curve of happiness. We're happiest when we're youngest, we're least happy in middle age, and then we start feeling happier and happier. And on some of the curves, do you know what the happiest age is?
What?
82.
Really? Oh my gosh, I didn't read that in your when I was doing research. Well, that is pretty neat because I, you don't want to sound, I mean, and of course you're healthy, I'm healthy. That
Yeah,
makes a huge difference.
of course.
It's just huge. And if you're healthy, and I think I heard you say that, then it's just, things are just so much better if you're healthy. I mean, I never want to be condescending on anybody that is like, not healthy, because that's a whole different story. But
Exactly.
now you were talking about the one thing that I really wanted to discuss was you were having this interview with this man, and I don't remember who it was, but it was a good discussion. And you were talking about being in the body
Mhm.
and not just in the mind.
Yeah.
Can you explain that? Because I know you're right because you've got the degree and you've done all the studying, but I always say it's in the mind and not the body. So explain that to me.
Well, one of the things I write about in the book is this new science of interoception, which is really the science of embodiment. And it proves, the
Yeah.
science, that when we're rooted in our bodies, we actually feel better. You know,
Okay.
our well-being, like if we have more awareness of our body sensations, which is called technically interoceptive awareness, if we have more awareness of our body sensations, we have a better sense of well-being. We have better boundaries. We have a better and stronger sense of self. And the reason that is that all our body sensations, you know, they're being monitored by the brain. It's not like
Right.
talking about the brain and body being separate.
Uh-huh.
I'm really talking about our brain is monitoring these body sensations all the time. These sensations that are coming from the nerves all over the body. And then they get mapped up here. And that's for our survival. It gives us a sense, the map of the body sensations gives us a sense of how well we're doing. Like, what's the condition of the body? Are we in good shape or not? Or do we need to change something? Do we drink more water, get more sleep?
Right.
So survival. But in creating this sense of the whole body up here in the brain, it also creates our sense of self. So we have a stronger sense of self when we have stronger awareness of our body sensations. And of course, because what else would it be based on? It's based on our body. So that science, which has just really been expanding in the last 2 decades, proves all this. You know, it
And
proves how important it is to be aware of our bodies. And I think you were maybe talking about my interview with Ian Tennant. He has the Interoception channel. I don't know which one you were talking about, but I talk a lot with him about, you know, sinking down.
yes, I think it was him.
That means, and what I mean by sinking down is consciously moving your attention down into your body. And can you feel your chest? Can you feel? And can you trace your breath all the way from the abdomen, and starting in the abdomen and breathing slowly up about to here, and then letting the air out? Can you feel that happening in your lungs? And can you feel your heart beating? Some people feel their heart beating all the time. Some people can't. But the more aware you are of being in your body, the better you feel, the more pleasurable it is.
And that's why I'm very anxious to read your book. I'm sorry I didn't get it read before our interview, but I think I really do understand what you're saying. I grew up with a father that lived to be 105. And he did all the wrong things, Susan. He didn't eat vegetables. He didn't eat fruit. He didn't drink water. I mean, all the wrong things. And he was so healthy. But, and when he died 2 weeks before, he was starting getting little mini strokes. And 2 weeks before he died, I was down there with him and he said, Jean, I just didn't think this would happen to me. And I'm like, Daddy, you're 105. You know, it's like, he just didn't think he was going to die. But he wasn't all in that good a shape. I mean, he played golf up until he was 100 and stuff like that, but he didn't physically, but mentally, Susan, he was like so strong. So I grew up with a father like that was like mentally so strong that I sort of, that's sort of my, MO. And I kind of am like that, but I understand what you're saying because I think, when we do meditation, we get down. When I do meditation, I get down there.
That's exactly right. I mean,
Yeah.
that's really what all those ancient practices are about, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really about getting you into your body.
Yeah. And we do
Meditation.
need to just, we need to do it all, don't we? I
Yeah.
mean, the whole mental thing, and these women that write me, and they're just so, they get so depressed about getting older, and I'm like, "Ugh, I just I sometimes I lose my patience, Susan. You know, sometimes I'm just like, I don't want that. I don't want to hear that pity party. Um,
Right.
but and these are healthy women, you know, so I do think that it's hard. I think your book is just so important, and the title is so great.
Mhm.
And we have, and like you said, we have to change that whole perception of aging,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
One
especially for women.
one of the things about perception that I really love is, we have this kind of image of the lifespan as
Right.
an arc like this.
Yep.
It's the opposite of the happiness curve, but
Yeah. Yeah.
at your peak in middle age, in your
Yeah.
career, and your kids are
Yeah.
long gone, and then there's this slide downwards on the other side,
Yeah.
into the doldrums of older age.
Yeah.
And I like to think of a different image for the lifespan and for our aging over the lifespan, which is like a spiral. So there's a continuous spiraling around higher and higher, and with different trajectories coming off of the spiral. And everybody has their own trajectories.
Yeah.
But then age becomes the culmination of life,
Yeah.
culmination of everything, where it all comes together. You put it together.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, as you said, that there can't be, serious physical and mental disabilities.
Right. Right.
That it's hard for all of us to lose people to, you know,
Right.
activities we loved, all that stuff. But
Hmm.
there's a way that it's a culmination. And I like to think of it, and lots of people do, as sort of you get more integrity as you get older.
You
You
get more what? I didn't hear that.
integrity.
Oh,
In
okay.
in other words, what I mean by that is something simple. You feel more like yourself. I
Yeah. Yeah.
feel more and more like yourself, which is a
Yeah.
wonderful thing. And you feel like I feel like I can do what I damn well please.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because my dad skydived with me, Susan, when he was
Yeah.
91. And my brother said to me, he said, I can't believe you're letting dad do that. And I'm like, what do you mean letting him? You know, this is his life. And that's the one thing I mean, I so believe in that, don't let anybody tell you you can or can't do something because of your age, and that was the highlight of his life. And it was, he loved it. And why would I stop my 91-year-old dad from, my brother says, well, what if he breaks his back or what if he has a heart attack? And I said, so that if that happens, that happens. But this is his decision and he wants to do it and we're going to do it. So I think that's just so important.
Yes. And this notion that you are supposed to take care of him, that we're supposed to take care of our aging parents because
Yeah.
they get to the age where they can't make decisions. And of course, there is dementia, and
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
and people have Alzheimer's, and it's, that's very sad. But, we all get a little more forgetful, a little less stable.
Yeah.
I feel it all the time. My memory is not as good as it was.
Right.
I need caretaking.
Yeah, I know. Do you get like I do though? I mean, it's kind of like, all right, I'm not going to blame it on my age. I'm going to blame it on I have too many things to remember. I mean, I kind of like the age thing. I kind of like, I mean, are you like that in any way at all? That you don't, it's not my age.
I'm sure that I deny it, but the book I tried, that I wrote was really about trying to accept aging.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, and I, being a psychotherapist, and having
Yeah.
meditated, I
Yeah.
really believe that we're happiest when we kind of where we see things as they are, as Buddhists say,
Yeah.
you know,
And
where what is. And so I have a section in the book about facing mortality, you know, and really looking mortality in the eye and know it's coming. And it's a great teacher because it says, well, you're not going to last forever. You better do it now.
yeah. Yeah.
I think it's terrific. I mean, did you read the Don Juan books when you were in your 20s, like I did, by Carlos?
No, I didn't.
Well, he sort of created, I think, a fictional character of a sorcerer, that he was a sorcerer. And the sorcerer said, always have death over your left shoulder about 6 feet behind you, because death is a great teacher. And a true warrior, and he didn't mean warrior just in the sense of a soldier.
Right. Yeah.
Have death there.
Yeah.
It's very motivating, and it makes you prune your activities. I find myself doing that. I'm not doing things I don't want to do anymore.
I know.
I'm with people I don't want to spend time with.
I know. And that's, yeah. Same thing here. I mean, it's just, I just don't waste time with, or I don't mean waste time. That's not a good way to put it, but I don't spend time with people that, I mean, why, but what's interesting, I think, is the older we get, that I think a lot of people don't understand, is I'm still meeting so many wonderful, wonderful young women that are just giving me such pleasure. Do you find that's happening to you too? I mean, like the 40-year-olds,
they're just, it's for some reason, they're more beautiful and wonderful than they ever were. To me,
I know, I think so too.
all this life and
Yeah.
all this energy. And I was just, as I said, I was just on this island called Little Corn Island.
Yeah.
And it only has about 1,500 people on it. And there were, other tourists there, as well as our friends. My husband and I went with another couple. And some of the people there, in fact, many of them, for some reason, were young women that had traveled there by themselves in order to scuba dive or just be on a tropical, because it's so relaxing and gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. I'm talking to them. And they were just the cutest things. And they were a little protective of me in the nicest way. Like when I was snorkeling with them, and I would kind of, as I do, get so interested in the fish that I move away from the boat.
Right.
Just come over and say, we're over there.
Yeah.
It's not something for me about aging. It's more of the way I've always been.
Me too. That's why yeah.
So people can attribute that to aging, but I know it's me.
Yeah. That's kind of the way I am too. I've kind of always been that way. I think we have that kind of personality, that I don't know, maybe gets a little stronger when we get older. But yeah, I think the young women, they are so interested in what you have to say, what I have to say. But that's why I think it's so important with your book. They seem to really want to, it's funny because I call the 50 and 60-year-olds the young ones, and they say, Jean, it's so funny you call us the young ones. And I said, well, you are, I mean, my daughter's 54, and it's like they are the young ones, and they have so much to look forward to, physically and mentally.
Absolutely.
And it's I just think it's just so exciting to meet them and hear their thoughts and all that.
And
so
we love that so much. I mean, when we were younger, there was more of a sense that it was, you were in the decline.
Yep.
older years. And now I think it's partly because of the feminist movement. There's an anti-ageist and anti-sexist movement
Right.
going on. And I've always, women's movement. And so, we're trying to create a different vision of aging.
Mm-hmm.
And Becca Levy's research? She's a researcher at Yale, and she measured people's beliefs about aging and how positive or negative their beliefs about aging were over time. And people start having views of aging when they're very young, like age 3. And so then what she did is she correlated how, by a complicated method, she correlated how long people lived with how positive their views of aging were. And you just won't believe what she found out.
What'd she
People
find
with
out?
positive views on average lived 7.5 years longer. Now this was such an astounding figure that researchers, they thought that must be just something happened in her statistics. So
Yeah.
she did it again and again and again and again, and that holds up. That
Yeah.
our views about aging
Yeah.
actually
Okay, we're losing you, Susan.
less Alzheimer's.
Okay, we
So,
lost you a little bit there.
That's just amazing.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, and that's what I saw in my dad. He my very favorite story was he left a boat up here in Minnesota. And so we were going to go out the next day on the boat, and the weather forecast said, not, 80% chance of rain. I said, Daddy, I don't think we're going to be able to go out tomorrow. And he kind of winked. He said, well, let's concentrate on that 20%. And, we woke up the next morning, sky was blue, beautiful, and we went out on the boat. So I did grow up with that kind of a father, and I did see that, and I do think that's why he lived so long. And so I think there is a lot to that.
Oh, yeah. And there's a whole thing, in the research called the positivity bias
Yeah.
of older. So they find, if they show pictures of the same kind of scene to younger people, older people tend to see it as more positive. It's sort of like your dad. He's saying, let's 20%.
Yeah.
Not the 8. And we're more able to do that as we get older.
Yeah. So tell me, Susan, do you travel around and give talks? What do you, or are you just mostly have patients, or what's your life like?
Yeah. For years, I've also been a teacher. So
Okay.
I've various institutes. So that's part of it. But I've always been seeing patients since about the age of 35. Before that, I was a journalist.
Okay.
So that's a reason that I decided to write a book, because it kind of puts together the psychology and the journal.
Mm-hmm.
So writing is fairly easy, because in my 20s, I was a writer and an editor. So that's what I was doing then. And then since then, teaching and having a family and lots. My husband and sister and brother-in-law have traveled every year to countries around the world. I mean, we've been to Madagascar and Novosibirsk and just, lots out of the way places. So I love learning new things.
Oh, good. And that is such a plus too in aging. But I wanted to ask you, how did you get started on the aging subject? What made you get started on thinking about that and writing this book? I'm so curious about that.
Well, I think it was actually, now that I think about it, a friend of mine asked me to write a chapter for her her book on therapists in the last stage of life.
Oh,
So
okay.
I wrote that in my early 60s, which seemed incredibly old at the time, of course. But so I started thinking about it. And then I realized, as I said earlier, that I thought people needed another book on aging, on my particular views on aging, about
Mhm.
aging and body. And I started interviewing people. That's how I started. I actually interviewed about 30, almost 30 people,
Mhm.
uh, friends and acquaintances. And they blew me away because every single one of them said that they thought things had gotten better with aging.
Oh, they did?
Every single one of them said some things had gotten better with aging. Now, these were
Wow.
a sample of everybody. These were people that I knew or
Yeah.
friends of, but most of them said they'd gotten less anxious, and that's something that's true for me, certainly less.
Mhm.
And they also said, um, and I feel more like I can do what I want to do. Um, and so that was very interesting to me.
Yes.
And
And that's kind of what got you started on thinking about the book?
well, I was already thinking about the book, but that's
Oh,
how
okay.
researching it. Then I
Uh-huh.
started, reading everything on aging that I could. I'd already read a lot of it for the article. And anytime a new book would come out, I'd look at it, I'd look at articles, and I just realized selfishly, it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to learn more about
Mhm.
my own, the process that I was entering. I wanted
Mhm.
everything I could because I think the more we know about something,
Right.
the job we can do with it, to know what to expect.
Right. Right. I know, and oh, you're doing, I mean, it's such a gift what you've done, Susan. I mean, like I say, I can't wait to read the book. But it's a true gift. And I think we need to, change that whole idea of, I know women will write to me and say, I hope I look as good as you do at 80. And I'm like, you're going to look better, because they're going to have better skin care. They're going to have better, everything. But, and I can't believe you're 83. And I'm like, this is what 83 is, this is what it is. Um, that's, they have to change their whole, women have this concept of what a certain age should look like or be like, or, whatever. And it's just not like that anymore.
And it's you. I mean, if you don't accept yourself as you age, it's a way of saying I'm not good enough,
I know.
way of not letting ourselves live.
I know. Can I quote you on that? Because I love that. If you don't accept yourself, then it's saying that you're not good enough. I think that's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so much of this word to battle aging or defeat aging. You
Yeah.
know, it's what we should do.
Yeah. Right.
Like
Right.
reversing aging.
Hmm.
I mean, that's we can't possibly reverse aging. It's the way things are.
It's the
And
way it
so we
is.
accept it. And yeah, it's a
Yeah.
part of who you are now.
and and Susan, and have fun with it, right? I mean, you got to have fun. I mean, it's just, I think there's just so much fun that we can do as we're aging. I mean, it's I I don't know, I love it. You know, I'm having a blast. So, and I can tell you are too. So it's good examples. And I love this interview, and I hope we can have you on again. And I like I say, I can't wait to read your book. It sounds so intriguing. Now, do you have a website?
I do. It's Sands, my last name, SANDS, Inside Story.
Okay, Sans Inside Story.
.com.
Okay, good.
www.
Well, yeah.
Inside.
Okay, we'll put that up. Well, thank you. You've certainly made me feel good. I like you explaining all that, because I was like, a couple of things I thought I need to hear your explanation and your professional, how you explain it. So you did a very good job on that. So
But Jean, I also want to thank you for what you do. Week
thank
after,
you.
reaching a huge number of women and just continuing on doing what you're doing because you believe in it. And I'm
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I started with my friend Edgy but Dangerous about 15 years ago, and I was 69, but a lot of our young friends were in their 50s and they were like having heart attacks because they were turning 50. And we're like, come on, we need to do something. We need to do something with these women. And of course, I'm a skydiver. And so to me, it's like, and we had, our Martini jump skydiving every year, and Susan, our first year, we had 107 women from the age of 50 to 80 jumping out of an airplane all day long.
you've never jumped
Here in Minneapolis.
Are you saying the first time?
Yeah, for the first time. And it was like so exciting. And I mean, you're helping so many women. I feel like Aging but Dangerous is helping women. I mean, we just have to keep, well, we don't have to, but I think, I choose to, and I know you choose to, just, keep telling them how great it is. And it doesn't have to be depressing. You can't worry about the wrinkles, you can't, it's just not important.
I want to try to look 50 if we're 70.
I know it. I know. Is that, yeah, so true. Yeah. Well, we've lost a little bit of your sound. Yeah, we're losing your sound and I don't know why, but anyway, Susan, thank you. Kisses. And I loved meeting you, and we will definitely follow you, and I'm going to get your book, and I just admire you so much in what you're doing, and let's just, both of us, just keep it up. We'll get these women through this whole aging thing, we'll make them realize how much fun it can be. So, all right, Susan, thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Bye.